So on this, what I like to start with is the vertex. The vertex is always going to be, dang, y'all start talking about eyes and my eyes are playing tricks on me all of a sudden. All right, so vertex is always going to be, so y'all see this on this poster right here, how it's pointing to the very top right here. Vertex is either going to be the very top or the very bottom, okay? So right here, when you take a look at this, we've got the very bottom and we've got vertex. So I want you to write vertex right here.
Is it going to be able to use these notes?
On our test, yes. So these notes right here, or if if you can't see those, then if you have your computer, I'll have them on the website, and you can pull them up so that you got them. So yes, you can use these notes. Now, obviously on the STAR test, you don't get to, but here's what I tell kids. The more you look at those notes, I promise you, like on test day, you can just kind of close your eyes and see them, okay? Now, if you never look at them, then that doesn't work. All right, so this is also known as the maximum and the minimum. Now, for the most part, we don't really talk about maximum and minimum right now, but this top is also known as the max and the minimum. Now, if it's on top, it's a maximum. If it's on bottom, it's a minimum. So right here, it's on the bottom. So we would call this a minimum. And I just put min. All right, so the next easiest thing is something we've already talked about, and that's either the x-intercept or the y-intercept. So let's start with the y-intercept. Now, usually this is labeled, but the y is not on here today. So if the y is ever not on there, if you let me know, I'll make sure that we tell you where the y is at. I'll say, hey, right here's the y.
Right here.
Does it have? Yeah. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Oh, that's an x right there, right? Oh, the y-intercept. Yeah. What I meant was they should label the x. Oh. So you see how they put the x right there? They didn't put the y right here.
Oh.
And so when you're looking for the y-intercept, I personally go to the y-axis and then just go until you see where the graph crosses it. So right here, that's the y-intercept. And I just put y-int right there. Does that make sense? And you just find that y-axis, and then wherever it crosses it, that's the y-intercept. So one of the things that we love about this, and there's probably about 4 or 5 questions on the STAR test about this stuff. And the reason we love this is because there's no math involved. It's just find the point, right? And so the fact that there's no math involved, I love these right here. Okay, now there's 2 of these right here, okay? Where it touches, good night. Like seriously, my eyes are playing tricks on me here. Or maybe my glasses are fogging up. I don't know, but like I can't see all of a sudden.
Is it because we started talking?
I don't know, but like just all of a sudden, something going on. All right, so these 2 points right here have 3 names. Now I want to show you that these 3 names are on this poster right here. So right here, no, we got to write all 3. Okay, so right here, you can see it's solution x-intercept 0, and it points to right here where it's on the x-axis. Right here, solution x-intercept 0. So on both of these, we've got 3 names. Now, I'm not going to make you write it on both of them. So we're just going to pick one of these and write all 3. So this is known as the x-intercept. That's probably the most common name because it's touching the x-axis, right? Mm-hmm. It's also called the 0. Now, we see 0 quite a bit. Now, I'm not going to lie, most kids miss the 0 one because they just forget that 0 means it's the x-intercept. X-intercept is like, oh yeah, it touches the x-axis, but 0 they forget. Solution, we don't see very much, but you can see it, okay? So that's the 3rd name, and all of these right here, oh crap, that's a terrible box. So all of these,
It's cold. It got cold.
when the thing turns on, it gets cold, and then once it shuts off, it warms up real quick in here. So as long as that's on, if it gets too crazy cold, then I'll see if I can fix it. But it should shut off here in just a second, then it warms right back up. All right. Yeah, that's the sucky thing with this room is there's no like in between. Like you would think it could just come on and shut off. But like it's got this set temperature, and once it reaches the hottest temperature, it takes it all the way down to the coldest temperature. And it's like, just put it in the middle, you know? Anyways. All right. So the only other thing that that when you look at the posters anyways, is this dotted line right here. Now, for the most part, I don't really talk about it, but for today, we're going to talk about this. This is called the axis of symmetry, and we put AOS instead, because axis of symmetry is just a lot to write out. Now, I will tell you, don't ever be ashamed.
To write it on.
Definitely to write it all out. But I have a lot of kids that can't say symmetry, and they say cemetery. Okay. And I just want you to know, don't be ashamed if you ever say cemetery. It's not a cemetery, but it kind of looks that way. It's symmetry. Symmetry, yes. So, but like I said, I get a lot of kids that, and then they, you know.
Do you have kids?
Me, I got 5 daughters.
Hey.
No sons. So yeah, it's, now I will tell you, however, like I had always heard, like whenever I tell people like I got 5 daughters, they're like, oh my God, you poor guy. My first 3 daughters were not drama queens. They were not, didn't date. They were all kind of antisocial. So, you know, I didn't have any of that drama stuff. Now, my 4th child, oh dear Lord, she's 13 and like,
She in 8th grade?
Yeah. And I mean, the whole world is just, you know, like we do family prayer time at night and it's like, all right, does anybody have any prayers? Me. Because, oh my gosh, so-and-so did it, and then so-and-so did, and I told so-and-so, and then my teachers, and I'm like.
So that means your 5th child gotta be like 6.
Do what?
Your 5th child gotta be like 6.
She's 7, yeah. So, and then I've got 2 in college and then 1 that lives in Tulsa. So yeah, they're all spread out. All right, so this right here, we're gonna do the exact same thing. All right, it's just now it's facing the other direction, but the same rules apply. The one at the top right here.
That's that AOS.
Okay, so you were looking, the one at the top, you were looking at this line. I'm talking about the dot. Yeah, so the line is the, let's go ahead and label this line right here, AOS right here.
That's like vertex.
Vertex, very good. So this right here is and it's really confusing because it's pointing, like right now, it's technically pointing at the line and the dot, isn't it? Usually we label the line at the bottom and then the dot. So I draw this arrow right here to the dot. So when the arrow's going to the dot, it's like you said, it's the V word, it's the vertex.
In the minimum, right?
Except for if it's at the top, it's not minimum, it's maximum, yes. So this is also, and like when you look at the poster, so let me go to the poster real quick. When you look at the poster, it says min/max, but if it's at the top, it's only the max. And then if it's at the bottom, it's only the min. But on the poster, I put both just to remind you that it can be max or min. All right, so let's talk about the y-axis. So here's our y-axis right here. So what do we call this dot where it's touching the y-axis? The y-intercept, very good. And then we've got either of these, they both are touching the x. It doesn't matter which one you label. There's more space here. I'm probably going to do it here. So what do we call this dot right here?
We call that y-intercept 0 solution.
All right, so x-intercept, I knew what you meant. 0 and solution. So on the test, they are not going to ask you like, what's this called? They're going to ask you for the number. So I remember yesterday when we were like, what's the x-intercept? And we just looked where it was crossing. Oh, -3. That's what you're doing. Okay. You're just simply telling me the numbers.
Label the words out?
Yeah. So now on the quiz we're going to do, you're going to label the words. And so the words will all be up there and you'll just label the words. But on the STAR test, they're going to say, what is the 0? And then you look for where it crosses the axis and you just tell me the number. Okay. Now, one of the things, if you take a look, I thought I kind of do have it up there. Let me see if I have it on. Hit the wrong thing. Okay, right here. Do you see this in green right here next to vertex where it says X and Y? That's kind of hard to see right there. I got a lot going on. But right here, it's hard to tell that's green on this poster.
It's green.
Yeah, that's actually green. If you look up there, it's maybe a little bit easier to tell that it's green, but on the picture right there, it kind of just, I don't know, they all look the same here. So anytime that you have, let me go back to the paper real quick. Anytime that you have vertex, the vertex, we're always going to list the X and the Y. On the max or the min, we will just list the Y. And then on axis of symmetry, we just list the X. Okay. Now, you'll get a lot of practice on this, so you won't have to necessarily, know it today. And it won't be on your quiz. So that part won't be on your quiz, but it is the next part that we're going to do. Okay. So you'll notice that whenever we find the vertex, we list both. Also, if you ever need help remembering like which one goes first, X or Y, I got this poster up there that reminds you that X goes first and then Y. And I have a little secret with this that kids never like to follow, but I promise if you follow the secret, it keeps you from making a mistake. All right. So I'm going to clear that and we're going to go look at, all right. So here's kind of a question. Now, I wouldn't say that this is a STAR question because on the STAR test, they would ask each of these separately. That's one of the awesome things about this is when we look at all these labels, each one of these like has to be its own STAR question. Does that make sense? So that's what's awesome is they're easy, but it's not just one question, like it's a whole bunch of questions. So, if you know these, it makes up just a whole bunch of easy questions on the STAR test. All right, so right here, it says on this picture, we want to know the vertex. So first off, I want you to go to the very top of this picture here, and I want you to put a dot right here. Okay?
Do you always do this or you just do it?
If it was a sheet of paper, I would always put a dot there. Now, if it's on the computer, now I think when y'all take the STAR test, on the computer, they actually give you the ability to write. The problem is it's really hard to write with, but you might still be able to put a dot there, okay?
We take it out on the computer this year?
I don't know. I hope not. If we are given the option, I have already made it known, we would rather test on paper.
Yes.
Because you can make notes easier. It's just so much easier to do stuff. Now, the computer has two advantages, okay? On the computer, it's easier to skip around. So it's easier to click here, go back to this one. Does that make sense?
It's easier to.
Yeah, well, whenever we STAR test, a part of my job, when you turn your STAR test in, is I have to look at all 54 questions to make sure you answered everything. And every once in a while, we'll see kids that just accidentally skip something, Now, when they skip something, did they like accidentally miss a line? Is every question after that wrong? You see what I'm saying? What happened here? Did they just literally skip that one? So many things. So online tests do have some benefits, and I'll agree with that, but the actual taking of the test is easier on paper.
Yeah, then people be looking at the answers on Google.
Well, here's the thing. So when you take the STAR test, the program that you use,
You can't leave.
it completely blocks out the entire screen. And the only way to go anywhere else is to, and then you have to take it here at school. You can't take it at home. So then you got monitors walking around and stuff. There's just a lot of different things to kind of keep that from happening. I'm sorry, I get to talking too much, I know. All right, so here's the trick on vertex, all right? And you will hear me say this right here on a couple of different things. Anytime that you are looking for the X and the Y, and remember on vertex, we're looking for the X and the Y, only look for the X first, okay? This is the big secret. Kids that look for X and Y at the same time, the STAR test will give you those numbers, but they'll reverse them. And kids accidentally, even though they know what they're doing, they accidentally choose the wrong answer. So the way that you beat that is you only take care of the X first, and then after we take care of the X, we'll do the Y. And I know it sounds stupid, and I get kids all the time, they're like, Coach, I don't have to do that. And then they're the ones that miss it on the test. So what we do is from this dot, we go down to the X axis right here. Okay, so I want to know what is the X coordinate. So here's 0, 1, 2, this is 3. You can even number this 1, 2, and then 3. So my X coordinate right here is going to be 3. And usually on a test right now, you've got the answer. Like there will only be one answer that says 3 for the X. Okay. Every once in a while, we'll see one that says, there will be 2 of them that say 3s, but on the STAR test, every single time, it's only has one that has the correct X.
So always start from the top and go to the
Mm-hmm. And take care of that and go to the X axis, take care of your X. On the STAR test, you've got your answer. On every test we have in here, you'll have your answer. Okay. Every once in a while, I have trouble finding questions like this. And so I find a question and it's got 2 of them that have the same X. And at that point, we have to go find our Y. So if you have to, now at this point, you go from the dot to the Y, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer would be 3, 4. So when it's vertex and you have to do the X and the Y, do what? Yeah, and like I said, most of the time you don't even have to find the Y. You just take care of the X. And there will be something else that we'll do later on where I tell you all the same thing. They'll ask you, what's the point where these 2 lines intersect? And I'm going to tell you, always find the X. So you'll hear me say that again and again. All right. So it's asking for the maximum and the minimum. Now, the maximum and the minimum is the same point right here. But the maximum or the minimum, in this case, it's a maximum, is just the Y coordinate. So what's the Y coordinate right here? So that's both of them. That's the X and the Y. So what's just the Y?
4.
Just the 4. So when you're talking about maximum and minimum, it's talking about the same point, but it's just the Y coordinate. It's just, so I want you to think about this. Maximum would be kind of like how tall somebody is. And so like, if I stood up and you measure how tall I was, you would measure this way, right? You go to the Y axis. So anytime that you're talking max or min, it's how tall something is or how low something is, and you always measure to the right, always going to the side, okay? All right, and then axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry, I'm gonna get rid of some stuff real quick for a second.
Did you record it? The last time you forgot.
I think I am. That's a great question. I thought it was. Oh, yep, right there. See this little cloud with a dot inside of it on this green thing right here? Can y'all see that? Yeah. So that little thing right there says I am recording. Thank you for reminding me. I really do appreciate that. I think a lot of kids think I'm being sarcastic when I say that, but I forget all the time. And were y'all here when I got a call yesterday and I was telling him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to forget. She ended up calling me right before the meeting. She's like, don't forget to get on. I'm like, oh, yes, thank you so much.
Did you do it?
Yeah, because she called me, I was like, I forgot all about it. All right. So, did I accidentally erase that? I didn't want to erase that. All right. So axis of symmetry. Do y'all remember axis of symmetry had that dotted line?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the secret to axis of symmetry. Draw a line that splits this in half. Symmetry, by the way, I don't know if y'all know this or not. Symmetry is typically one of the reasons that people naturally think somebody's good looking. Okay. So like all my life, I've been ugly. Why? That's because I don't have good symmetry. So when you think about movie stars and stuff like that, whoever you think is the most beautiful person, typically, and they've done science on this, if you split them in half, which is what symmetry is, splitting in half, the right-hand side perfectly matches the left-hand side. And when that happens, people tend to think You know, that's a beautiful person right there. Okay. So symmetry is just this idea of splitting something in half. So if you split this in half, where does this line touch the x-axis?
Oh, 3.
3. The answer to the axis of symmetry is x equals 3. It will always be x equals, and I have that on my poster up there. I put it'll always be x equals. Oh, I erased this too. And so that's axis of symmetry right there. Zeros are just where does it touch the x-axis? So remember, zeros are the same thing as x-intercepts. Now, whenever they give you a u-graph, which we call a parabola, but if they give you a u-graph, they almost always refer to the x-intercept as zeros. When you get a line, then they were usually refer to it as x-intercept. So this crosses the x-axis. So here's our x-axis right here. This crosses twice. It crosses once right here and once right here. So we got 5 and 1. So your answers are 5 and 1 or 1 and 5.
Oh, it don't matter which one you put first.
No, doesn't matter. This is not, notice I didn't put parentheses around this.
Oh,
Okay. This is not a point. This, maybe I should write it like this. Maybe I should write 1 and 5. It's not a point. It's just saying 1 is a 0, comma, 5 is a 0. Does that make sense? So, direction opening, we don't do. So direction opening is just, you start at the vertex and your lines are going down. So that, but that's not really a test question. And then last part is y-intercept. So the y-intercept is just, where does this cross the y-axis? So it crosses, yep. And don't, it's hard to see because they put this right on the stupid line, but that's a -5 right there. Y'all see that negative right there? So it'd be -5. So I want you to see there's no math involved. Okay. So when I work with kids, so during the summer, I work with kids who have failed to STAR. Okay. It's my specialty. Guys, I have never had anybody fail in the summer. Never. Okay. And every year they take seniors who have not passed the STAR and who haven't come to me during the summer. And during the year, I work with them. Every kid who has ever come to me during the middle of the year, they have never failed. Okay. Like, and I know that sounds weird. Now, how many kids come to me? Well, not a lot, you know, because nobody believes that they can pass. But guys, what do I teach them? I don't teach them all the hard stuff. I teach them all this stuff like this right here. I'm like, if you can get these questions right here, you know, and we're going to move into some calculator stuff eventually. And I teach them the calculator. And I'm like, if you can take care of this stuff right here, guys, that's how you pass the STAR test. Not by doing the hard stuff, but the easy stuff. And then I get them to commit to guessing C. So they commit to guessing C and, you know, yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is that if you take care of all the easy ones, let's just say that you can, matter of fact, I want you to think about how much easier this is going to make the STAR test. The STAR test is 54 questions, right? Okay. Now, how many, when I say that we're going to take care of easy ones, how many easy ones do you think there are?
Like 10.
No, I think like 40.
Out of 54, out of 54.
I like 30.
Okay. I would probably even go less than that.
Like 25.
I would probably say 20. Okay. So let's say that there's 20 easy ones. What I am telling you is I have never, ever, ever, ever had a student fail who found 20 easy ones and guessed C on everything else. Ever. Matter of fact, most of those students made a B on the test. A B.
So everything you see, basically.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. But the thing is that when you take care of those 20 easy ones, okay, most kids that fail because they panic. Okay. They're bad test takers and they panic. And we talked about, you and I talked about this, but I don't think you were here when we talked about this. When you panic on a test, your body goes into what's called fight or flight. You remember us talking about that? Have you ever on a test? Oh, we still got it. All right. So, like I said,
My teacher's told me.
okay. Well, I said I could care less. I've let you go before, but I can't get in trouble. So let's see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put a restroom down.
Huh?
I'm gonna put restroom. That way I can say, oh, it was an emergency, you were dancing, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So 2-4. All right. All right. So, what was I saying? Oh, the fight or flight, yes. So what happens is, and I want you to tell me if this ever happened to you. Have you ever been taking a test and then like, you're like, "Dammit, you know, I'm just so sick and tired of this test. I'm just gonna," and you just start guessing and you're just done, right? Okay, that's fight or flight. Most kids that fail the STAR test fail because they get frustrated and they miss the easy ones. Does that make sense? So what we're going to teach you to do is you go take care of those easy ones. Don't let the easy ones get to you. When you're perfect on the easy ones, then no, you're not going to get, you know, even necessarily a whole lot of C's, okay? Because like you'd be guessing almost 30 C's, right? But you're going to get enough C's that it's going to pull you over passing. Does that make sense? So that's why we do that right there. Is it's not that, I don't want you to think like you can just go in and guess C or anything like that. Yeah, guess 54 C's, you're not going to pass the test. But you take care of those easy ones and you will pass the test. All right, so I don't like this because these are going by twos. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to make these little marks right here. You do not have to make these. I'm going to make these marks just to make sure that you know that that's going by twos. And we're counting the individual marks right there, okay? All right, so first thing we're gonna do is put a dot right here because that's at the very bottom, right? Okay, so we're gonna do vertex first. Vertex is X and Y. So we're gonna go from this dot to the X first. All right, now, this right here, this tick mark that I drew, it's going to the left, so it's negative. So this is -1, -2, -3. So my X coordinate is -3. And usually that will give you the answer. But on this one, we do have to go and find the Y too. So we're going to look at the Y, and this is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, -9. So comma -9. So that's our vertex. Now, this is a minimum, and minimums are the Y only. So we go to the side, and it's -9. Very good. The axis of symmetry, let's just use this line that we've already drawn right here. Axis of symmetry, we draw a line that splits this in half. I'm just going to, and it's X equals -3. You can see how all of these are kind of related to each other, right? So vertex uses both the X and the Y, maximum just the Y, and axis symmetry just the X. All right, so now the zeros. So I've got 2 zeros here. I've got one here at 0 itself, and then -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would be -6 right here. So it's going to be 0 and -6. And then last is the y-intercept. So where does this cross the y-axis? Well, it's actually crossing at 0 again. Yeah, so it's just 0. And then we don't do direction.